The administrative profession holds both routine and unexpected demands throughout each day. Due to each role being unique, much like your thumbprint, there's no manual that makes it black and white or a no brainer. However, having transitioned from the profession myself turned specialized headhunter, I've been blessed with over 2,500 one on one connections with admins living this profession each day. They've shared with me remedies, ideas, and hilarious moments which could help others transition from, and I air quote, the word island, in which we feel and see ourselves living, to a place of community. Each PS episode, of which I'll let you know, PS stands for permission slip, not postscript. These episodes will deliver thought provoking moments to help you navigate your admin world. Let's get to today's topic. Welcome, everyone, to a fun episode. Also, an episode that's going to get your thoughts spinning in a really positive way to help you in your career. Now, I know many of you have shown up to this episode because that title, WTF, has grabbed your attention. On the masses, that would stand for a phrase, what the fuck? But in this case, it's going to stand for wishful thinking forever. Now, can't take credit for that. One of my favorite podcasts I subscribe to, Harvard Business Review, IdeaCast, they had a guest on one day. And in listening to this episode while out for a walk, the guest mentioned that alternative usage of the three-letter acronym WTF. And I just thought, that's powerful. And so thinking about wanting to spend some time with you guys, I'm recording this on Sunday, July 19th of 2020. It's been an extremely impressive year. My word that I just use a lot is impressive. So many different things going on. And truth be told, I actually recorded this episode title concept in November of 2019 with the intention of having, episodes in the repository ready to release. And I just listened to it and I thought, you know what? I got to add to it. I got to change it. The world right now is very different than when I recorded it in November. But to your benefit, I've listened to it about 3 different times and captured some really great notes so that I have a chance to still give away wisdom, which is the intention here. So wishful thinking forever, creating a plan. There have been several people who've lost employment, and my heart goes out to you, and I'm sorry that that's happening to you in your career, in your livelihood, and just keep holding on. And so some of the things mentioned here are going to assist you with your search. And some of you are employed, things have really popped up, putting red and pink flags in front of you for your organization, and you're thinking, is this truly the place for me? The company that you're at, how they've responded, how they're engaging and or lack thereof engaging with trying to really keep the human bodies that are moving a company forward engaged and so on. And so, we get a bit reactive. We're all guilty of that. And we're reactive to say, I'm out of here. And while that gives a sense of excitement that there's an option, right? Options are so amazing for those that are employed and that those that aren't. It's like, what do I do? Where do I start? So there's going to be a bit of hybridity here in this episode, but it's going to really bring some good education and wisdom forward for quite honestly, anyone with where they're at with their career right now in this impressive year, 2020. So the whys, we get anxious. We believe things are out of our control. We're all living in a state of frustration and sadness. And so compound all of that on top of a job that is a bit of a struggle for you. And so let's just give ourselves some grace, which was my theme word for the year 2020 as of 1/1/2020, and wow, has it paid off. I think I mentioned that in a few episodes preceding this one, is give yourself some grace. Really step back and go, what's going on? And so we'll go into a couple different areas. And the first one I want to talk about is culture. To me, I've mentioned it a few times, and I'll say it here because it's so relevant. Culture is now more than ever something we're all paying attention to. What culture means to me, because it's a bit of a universal, not black and white, clear term, because there's a lot of gray that's connected to it, is what is the company doing to give you a sense of unity amongst people you spend a lot of time with. At the midst of the pandemic, showing up, digital happy hours constantly, town halls from executives constantly, which, by the way, if you are employed, think about that. If your executive hasn't done one in a while, go ahead and get that on the books for discussion during a one-on-one meeting. Unity, how's that happening? Is the HR department bringing in someone to bring wisdom for the working parents who are struggling? What is HR doing? And to pause, HR now more than ever has so much going on, and my heart genuinely goes out to them. And so if we can fill gaps, which coming up in the future is going to be an episode called I'm Bored. I've been getting some phone calls from admins who are struggling because they've got less responsibility. So look out for that one in the future. It's going to give you some insight on how to fill more gaps and expand your toolbox. Unity amongst companies. They're struggling for ideas, and they just really aren't delivering. And so as you assess and figure out, is this really the long-term place for me? For those that have been let go, that's a sign of, how they valued you in your role. And I'm sorry you were let go. And so when you go to interview, as you seek your next work home, ask them, what have they learned as a company on how to care for their employees right now? That could be a really great way for you to either put them on the spot and or be inspired and excited about this could really be your place, which helps elevate you when you're interviewing with them. So the culture. What are ways that the company is providing culture for you to have a sense of unity, especially right now with the United States and probably across the globe? We are feeling very separated, both physically and emotionally. So the next thing, and this one really impacts my heart, and it's a phrase I hear often, which when you hear it from an EA to another EA, there's that, drop in shoulders of like, oh yeah, I totally get that. I know what that's like. I've heard about that and or I've experienced that. That micromanager. I'm telling you, people, I'm hearing more and more of it in just the last 4 months. And it really comes from one of my favorite top 10 words, empathy. Now, I'm going to pause. Some of you might be rolling your eyes and like, yeah, I'm tired of that word, right? Like, what about me? No, I hear you. However, as leaders in our role, as inspirers, people who create inspiration and your own thought-provoking moments, empathy genuinely comes from assessing the situation. As I mentioned earlier, being reactive. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I don't want this role, or trying to just assess what's going on and figuring out like what really is the underlying issue. Empathy is really huge, and there's always things happening underneath the surface. The stress of these individuals, a lot of CEOs like HR, everyone, but a little bit more than others just because of their weight on their shoulders. These executives are frustrated. There are constantly people who want the needle to move. And because a lot of the work that they're in front of is sort of stagnant, they're not traveling at all, or they're not traveling at the magnitude that they were prior to all of this, they are experiencing lack of control. And so, yes, you are very close to that office and role. You will be micromanaged. It's a fact. And if you're not, you're blessed. But it may pop up every now and then. And if you understand your executive and you understand what's going on, you see what I'm going to definitely scream loudly here, the noise that is crossing their desk, what's going on at home. There's things that we get to know or don't get to know. Just use some empathy. And a phrase, a thought word connected to that is it a season? And I know for some of you listening, because I'm thinking about this for myself, I'm kind of over what's going on. When is this season over? If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a meme that was a picture of people holding a very, very large sage bundle. And the question was, is this enough sage for the year 2020? Yeah, there's just so much going on. Give yourself some grace. Give your executives some grace. Walk away and know they're not micromanaging you. They're micromanaging their environment, which, yes, you happen to be blessed to be in that close, intimate circle with them and other leaders in the organization. So that's the second thing, right? The micromanager. If it's really, truly bad, it was present prior to COVID, and now you're thinking, okay, it's worse. I can't perform effectively. I'm feeling a sense of pressure and discouragement. I'm losing the ability to be connected to my unicorn status that I'm so good at what I do. Go ahead and take a pause. Think about what's going on. And I'll get to in just a moment what some action items would be for you to really advocate for yourself as a professional who is going to be the driver of your career. This is the final thing. I'm not going to park here for very long. For those that are following admins on LinkedIn and the voices that are there, advocating for our profession and helping inspire us and challenge us in good ways, we can't really talk about compensation. We are not a simple role where you can reconcile very quickly our title, and I'll be general with executive assistant because I always want to talk to my receptionists, my administrative individuals, my chief of staffs. There is no simplicity to our role. Therefore, the salaries that are mentioned on LinkedIn or even suggested with job descriptions, you're thinking, are you kidding me? That's all with everything that that role entails. That we can't really provide advocacy around this is the facts, because we are the hardest profession, I believe, especially with the research I've done with some spare time on my calendar and all that's going on in the last 5 months. It's just really hard. I mean, you could do a survey of 2,000, but 2,000, guess how many admins there are in the entire world? It would be so neat 10 years from now to really be able to get and drill down into that. And maybe that's a survey, maybe, then there's the cost of living. Here I am going on a tangent because, again, to that tangent, it's like, how can we do that? And because as this population of unique family members in the administrative profession, you guys are uncomfortable talking about salary because you don't want to undershare your info and someone doesn't want to get judged, we can't talk about it. And maybe we should. That's a topic for another day. So if you genuinely need more compensation, I know some of my admins from 2019 have been put into a reduction in compensation for a short amount of time. Some of them are in the hospitality environment, which got hit so dramatically from all that's going on. They took compensation cuts, but they still have a job. And so if anyone right now is listening, by the way, very relevant, and you think you're going to get cut, start designing your vocabulary and your story to say you're willing to take a compensation cut because you want to stay committed to the company and the purpose of the company and the mission of the company. It's going to be a lot better to be able to do that. So compensation. Now, what do we do? I've just talked about 3 key things: culture, the micromanager, compensation. And yes, the list could go on. I try to make these PS episodes short, and here I am almost at 12 minutes. But, what do we do now? So I will talk first to those that are still employed, and then I will go to those that are seeking employment for their work home. If you are in your role, you need to start, which this is a rule of mine that I love to throw into the community's ears, you guys. You need to be working on your resume every 6 months. You need to be documenting every day and every week in a journal the information connected to your achievements, the challenges you overcame. Because when you do your resume, you're talking about what is the problem you and your toolbox solve. So when you start to realize, and maybe in this episode, the moment was you've declared to yourself, I'm going to assess the next 6 months. I'm going to think about the market that's going to get us through the election, that's going to get us through the 4th quarter of this year and put us into 2021. And I'm praying every day for all of us that what's my next move? This is a chess game. What is my next move? And you should really be paying attention to the things that you're doing that you love, that you don't absolutely love, that you would like to shed. I've had a lot of calls this year of people who want to do career change, especially those that were in hospitality that have heard about me. They want to connect with me and move into the admin field. So start designing a plan. What makes sense? What's the right salary to have harmony in your life, of enough money in the bank to feel comfortable, to take that vacation, or even a one night, stay away somewhere else just to have a fresh new set of scenery. My gosh, aren't we all starving for that? So assessing your situation, what is the right next move for you? And I'm going to have another episode of which I've just had the idea on, exiting the honeymoon phase. I got to write it down so I don't forget. Exiting the honeymoon phase. When we're in our role, something happens between month 9 and 15. We've created systems and we've optimized. If you are in that window of 9 to 15 months in your role and you're like, I can totally do this job in my sleep, have no fear. Look out for that episode coming up. I've already got some ideas in my mind on how I want to spend time with you guys for that. I'd like to transition to those that are seeking. Please pause and give yourself some grace. It is hard to look for a job. Yes, it is. And be okay with it. Please, dear gosh, though, stop sitting in front of the computer, applying to everything every day. Give yourself a day off. Just like when we're burned out in our role, you're going to get burnt out looking. So here's what you can do to just skew a little bit and have a variance in your experience in seeking your new work home. Network, network, network. It's going to be another episode. I got to write that one down too. It comes up a lot. We're all scared. We're afraid to talk to other people because we're going to be judged. Notice a theme here: judge, judge, judge. We've got to stop judging. So look in your network. Talk to other admins. Start volunteering if you can virtually, if we can be in person. Some states have different arrangements right now for in person. So if you're seeking employment and you're getting in front of interviews, ask them how they've handled this time. Ask them where the pain points are of the executive. Look at the job description and tell them, I noticed a lot of core responsibilities mentioned within the job description. I'm also wondering, because I've done this career a long time, that these other 3 things are going to be important, or 4, or 5, or one top thing that's going to be important for the executive and leadership team I may be supporting. What do you think, Julie in HR? Do you think these could be accurate? You've just let them know that you know the role, which allows them to know they're not going to have to hold your hand. So I want that to be a really good tip that you can use on the interview or that you can use when you get in person with someone. And again, take a break. Don't get burnt out. I know a lot of you wind up having a spreadsheet, tracking when you applied, who works there, what's going on. And if you're not doing that, you should, because it really helps you digest all the wealth of information and the fatigue that comes from job searching. So, to leave on a positive note, look at how far we've come in the last 4 months. Look at where we are. We know more about what's going on. We understand what keeps us safe and somewhat sane. And you have the personal accountability to be in control of how much all of this tears you down and how much of it gives you hope. Not false hope, but hope. I hope the things mentioned here have inspired you, have given you something or a lot to walk away with. I've also wanted to start asking you guys, if this episode really hit home for you, share it with your network. That's another way to build relationships when you have resources for other people. As well, I keep forgetting, you can actually leave reviews for this, specifically on Apple Podcasts. Put a review in, even if it's just however many stars you think this podcast is worth it. Thank you for providing that information. Thank you to those that have put, verbal reviews out there for other people to be able to come to this room with me, with all of you, and be inspired and continue to love this career that we have made our life. Thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your time with me and allowing me the opportunity to inspire you. My intention with the PS episodes are for you to rediscover why you're in this profession and continue to love it. Have a great day.